Hi there, and welcome back to the neighborhood. We're looking at the HE1000 Stealth thanks to HIFIMAN. I've taken a look at both the Arya Organic and Arya Stealth in the past, and know that many were questioning my thoughts on the HE1000 Stealth in comparison. So let's get into it. The HE1000 Stealth is built similar to the Arya line, but most similar to the Arya Organic. It's an ear-shaped, open-back, large planar magnetic headphone with a wood veneer surrounding the mostly metal chassis. It makes use of a rather rustic leather suspension strap, and I really like the look and feel of it, as it feels pretty premium, which is an upgrade over the straps that come with other cheaper headphones in the HIFIMAN lineup. By the way, these coming in at $13.99 are some of the cheapest from HIFIMAN's HE1000 line, which has historically gone for at least a couple of grand. And not to spoil things, but these may arguably be the best from the HE1000 line, so HIFIMAN is killing it with their value proposition recently. But getting back to the build, the metal is mostly a matte silver, but the tension spring headband has more of a brushed aluminum look to it. The clamp is tight enough that it's secure, but it's not too tight and still extremely comfortable to wear, and not too heavy on the head either. Aesthetically, I think it's a traditional, yet iconic look from HIFIMAN at this point, but the lighter tone of the wood veneer does stand out a bit more. More specifically, this color reminds me of a baseball glove leather, and I do like that, but your opinion may vary. A dual 3.5mm connection is used at the base of each ear cup, and both dual pole and single pole connectors will work as with almost all HIFIMANs. Long balanced and unbalanced cables are also provided in the box, which is a plus and an upgrade from other models, but still, I would have liked to have these cables be a bit nicer and less rubbery for the price point of this set. But overall, I really like the build of this thing, and I think that HIFIMAN did a really good job with the package. It even comes with a foam headphone stand to display your headphone if you'd like. But let's jump right into the sound, which is globally excellent. Going back and forth between it and the Arya Stealth, I can't tell which headphone I like better, as both provide outstanding technical performance, but each one offers some distinct advantages over the other. With the HE1000 Stealth, the stage presents at a view that is further back in space, and is also larger in its scope compared to the Arya Stealth, which is more intimate, with more forward vocals, and a larger depiction of individual sounds and instruments. Both headphones have excellent clarity and resolution, but the HE1000 Stealth is discernibly an eensy bit more resolving compared to the Arya Stealth. And it has additional treble presence and better brilliance and sparkle up top too. The mid-ranges of the HE1000 Stealth and Arya Stealth both ring crystal clear as a bell, and without any harshness, sibilance, or aggression. But mid-range note weight of the Arya Stealth is slightly thickened and somewhat more musical in contrast to the HE1000 Stealth, which although slightly thick enough in its note weight, is further analytical, even if it is also more proper to the track in comparison. Still, I'm kinda splitting hairs here. Nevertheless, generally speaking, I'd say the HE1000 Stealth comes across as somewhat more delicate in its mid-range, while the Arya Stealth is a bit more heavy-handed. Vocals are also more of a focal point in the Arya Stealth, and appear both larger in their image and intimately more forward in their presentation. Vocals on the HE1000 Stealth are more in line with the track and stand out less to the ear. In contrast, the bass is a tad bit more expressive and revealing in the HE1000 Stealth, and its extension feels farther reaching into the depths of the frequency response. There's more bass detail in the HE1000 Stealth, and it has an evenness to its low-end presentation that is just simply satisfying. Yet, the Arya Stealth's low-end comes across a bit beefier as a whole, and feels a spot more cohesive sounding globally, which is certainly not a knock on the HE1000 Stealth really, as I've been lucky enough to hear all iterations of the HE1000 at this point, and this is definitely the most coherent and cohesive sounding one to date. Those other headphones of the past tended to sacrifice comprehensive technical performance for pure detailed delivery. The HE1000 SE especially comes to mind in that regard. Conversely, the HE1000 Stealth almost rivals the Arya Stealth with regard to its cohesion and coherence, even if I give the edge to the Arya Stealth in that category in the end. In other words, one takeaway here would be that the Arya Stealth focuses on a unified sound, while the HE1000 Stealth focuses more on pointedness in its sound reproduction. And I would never call the Arya Stealth's imaging untidy, but imaging is somewhat less cluttered on the HE1000 Stealth, and there's generally a bit more space between individual notes and images on the HE1000 Stealth as well. The HE1000 Stealth just seems to breathe a bit more, while the Arya Stealth is more constrained in comparison. Still, from a technical perspective, both separation and instrument distinction are top-notch in each of these sets. Each set is 32 ohms of resistance, with the HE1000 Stealth coming in at 93 dB of sensitivity, while the Arya Stealth is 94 dB respectively. So with regard to specs, there's not much difference in this regard, and just like the Arya Stealth, the HE1000 Stealth is fairly easy to drive overall. With that said, the HE1000 Stealth does seem to benefit from additional power and drive a bit more from my experience with it. I enjoyed the HE1000 Stealth being driven by my reference setup, which includes the Goldnote DS10 Plus DAC and the Tron Antares signature headphone amplifier. With these headphones in that line, it really doesn't get much more reference than that without encroaching upon enjoyability. And with that setup, I always enjoyed what I was listening to. By the way, since I haven't mentioned it yet, the timbre of the HE1000 Stealth is outstanding, neutral, and natural. I also enjoyed the HE1000 Stealth with the Bravo Audio Ocean hybrid tube and Class A amplifier, which depending on the tube installed, mellowed the presentation of the HE1000 Stealth to perfection. I recently switched to an early green Sylvania 12AU7 in my Ocean, which stages exceedingly well. It just has a great sense of space and articulates itself well in a pleasing manner with the HE1000 Stealth. Overall, the Arya Stealth is a slightly smoother and more coherent presentation that provides more emotional vocals and a sense of greater intimacy to its listener, while the HE1000 Stealth is a wider staging, more pointed delivery, with slightly better extension at both ends, most notably in the treble. Both sets are some of the best sounding planar magnetic headphones out there right now though, and I have a hard time saying one headphone is particularly better than the other. In the grander scheme of things, I see them mostly as side grades from one another, and I think that unless someone has a particular preference for one thing or another, both will be appreciated by almost any discerning audiophile. So if you're debating between the two, hopefully you can use this review as a guide to help you tease out the differences. Otherwise, another person with an unrestricted budget might even be justified in owning both sets for a slightly different presentation every now and then. With that said, taking each category of sound reproduction individually, I can almost give the nod to the HE1000 Stealth, but the cohesion and coherence of the Arya Stealth is truly something special too, that makes it stand out as well, and can't be ignored. I'll certainly be holding on to both sets for the channel for comparisons and whatnot, as long as it's relevant for me to do so. But let's compare the HE1000 Stealth with another headphone from another company before we close. And since I recently traded my Meze Empyrean for a ZMF Verite Camphor Burl, let's do a head-to-head between it and the HE1000 Stealth. The Verite is a slightly heavier sounding, more musical headphone with somewhat better swings in terms of dynamics. Still, it's not as reference or liquid sounding as the HE1000 Stealth is, and costs twice as much. Vocals jump out to the listener a bit more with the Verite than they do with the HE1000 Stealth though, but the overall presentation is spread out in a more even and accurate manner in the HE1000 Stealth. I'd be splitting hairs though if I claimed that one was more resolving than the other, so I won't do that here, as they're close enough that one is likely to get better results from one or the other depending upon their source chain. And I know we're a bit past 2023 at this point, but I think it's safe to say that the HE1000 Stealth is this channel's headphone of the year for 2023. It is at least as good as the Arya Stealth is, my headphone of the year for 2022, but has a slightly different and more revealing presentation from those that demand a step up from the Arya Stealth, which is already a very resolving headphone. And you may be asking yourself, but what about the new Arya Organic? Well, I've already covered that headphone and compared it with both the Arya Stealth and HE1000 Stealth in that review too. The short of it is that although it's a good set in its own right, both Stealth headphones offer a better technical presentation than the Organic does. And even though the Organic may arguably slightly out-resolve the HE1000 Stealth at times, its overfocus on dynamics comes at the cost of technical performance. But if you're interested in more specifics, make sure you check out that review as well. as it's already uploaded to the channel. I'll place a link in the description below, along with all other places you can keep up with the channel, including Instagram, X, www.intoitreviews.com, and the Patreon. There's also a Discord you can join. And if you've enjoyed this content, make sure that you've subscribed to the channel and consider leaving a like on this video to help it spread here on YouTube. And with that, I'm out for now.